So a brand name is really important because it's basically shaping the identity of your business for now in the present and also moving forward, and it will be a key component of all your marketing activity, etc. So making sure that you are happy with your brand name and that it is clear what your brand name represents is really important. Hey guys, welcome to Mega Crafty. If you're new here on this channel, we talk all about small businesses, running a small business, having a small business, creating a small business. So if that's something that interests you, then make sure to follow along by clicking the subscribe button. Then you'll get all the updates from this channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking all about coming up with a brand name. This is something that was requested in the comments, and as always, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, then drop them in the comments below this video and I will get round to answering them. Make sure you stay tuned in this video to find out the 5 key elements that I think are super important when you're considering your brand name. Right, let's talk about brand names. Coming up with a brand name is a really exciting but important step of any business, whether that's a small business or a much bigger business, because it's going to be the identity of your business moving forward, whether that's for marketing activities or being known as this name to your customers. And that's why it's important that you get it right from the start and that you're happy with it before you do anything like set up your company legally or buy domain names or like ads on social media. There's no point doing all that until you're definitely happy with the brand name. So I've come up with some points that I'm going to go through in this video, which will detail how to choose your brand name and also how to make sure that you're happy with your brand name. So when you're developing a brand name, you have a number of options on where you can draw inspiration from and how to come up with that name itself. So the first one of these is using the founder or inventor's name. So for example, this YouTube channel is called Mega Crafty. My name is Megan. So I use the first part of my name and then crafty because like originally this channel was just going to be about my business, which is a sewing business. So I was thinking like crafts, art and crafts, and it's kind of evolved, but I still feel like the name fits. So that's partly the founder's name, Megan, and partly what I do, being crafty in business as well. So that's a great example of where you can draw inspiration from the founder's name and a little bit of what you do. A more well-known example would be Hewlett-Packard. That's the founder's names. It has nothing to do with the product, but straight away, HP, you know what the products are because obviously they're so well known, but that is where the name's from. It's the founder's name, and they've obviously built on that and built from that a brand itself. So if you have a good name or surname, why not use that as your brand name? The only downside of this is that it does bring you really close to your product. So if you want it to be a bit more dissociated from your product, perhaps you don't want to be personally like recognized as the face of the brand, then perhaps don't use your name. But if you're happy being at the forefront of your brand, then this is always a great option to go down. Another option for a brand name is describing what you do. A really good example of this is airlines. They're usually just called, for example, British Airways. You know exactly what they do. They're in the sky flying around. British Airways, obviously based in the UK. It's really clear. And American Airlines, I'm trying to think of other ones, Southwest Airlines. There's so many different ones that use exactly what they do as their brand name. Another great way to come up with your brand name is to use an abbreviation of what your product is or what your company does. For example, BMW roughly translates to Bavarian Engine Works Company. That literally describes what the company does, Engine Works, and where it was founded, Bavaria, which is a region of Germany, I believe. Then you come on to brand names that are completely out of context. So for example, Google. That is just not even a word before Google created that word. Or Apple, as in the Apple iPhone, for example, that is taken completely out of context, and Apple is obviously a piece of fruit. So why did they choose that name to be associated with it? You might not necessarily want to go with this if you're going to be a really small business, because it will be harder for customers to recognize what you do, and you really want to be clear in saying to your customers, this is what you're going to get from me, this is what you can expect from me, this is what my products are going to be, because that helps you to build that brand when somebody can see the name and immediately understand what it is you offer. But if you are the next Google, then don't let me stop you from calling your brand name something really creative and out there, as long as you have the tools to be able to market it and make sure that people do understand what you're doing, then go for it. So once you've come up with one brand name using all those methods that I've been through, then you need to come up with at least 5 that you think are good, and then put them to other people. Say to your best friend, what do you think of this brand name? Is this good? Like, will people know what it is? Will people is it cool? Like, does it make sense? Put it to your parents, because they're always, you know, our harshest critics sometimes. They will tell us the truth. If it's rubbish, then, you know, or put it to your spouse, your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your nan. Like, literally put your ideas to somebody else, so that it's not just tunnel vision of what you think and you're actually getting a wider opinion. You've got to remember as well that people in your inner circle might be kinder than people who don't know you at all. So it's always a great idea to maybe get some feedback. You could do like a paid Survey Monkey, which doesn't cost much, but it would provide you with some really insightful feedback on your brand name as well. You only get one shot to get it right. Once you've done all the legal paperwork, you obviously can change your company name, but it becomes so much more difficult, so you want to make sure you get it right first time. Another reason to come up with a load of different names that you like and are happy with is because they might already be taken. So whilst you think that The Amazing Pen Company is a great name, then somebody else might have already called their pen company The Amazing Pen Company. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I was literally stuck on that, like that was the name that I wanted, and then now you can't have it because another company is already registered. So as long as you've got a few, you know, in the pipeline that you like, then that does make your life easier if you come to find out that your number one name is taken. Right, once you've chosen your brand name and you've run it past all your like harshest critics and your random critics, then you need to test the name. To do this, you can use these 5 key points. 1, it sounds good when you say it out loud. You might have been saying it in your head, but as long as it sounds, you know, it sounds great, but then you say it out loud and you're like, that doesn't actually sound that great. Make sure you say it out loud. Does it sound good? That's important. Number 2, it won't be constantly mispronounced or misspelt, which basically defeats the purpose of having a clear brand name. You need to make sure that your customers can spell it, because then they're going to be able to search you easily in search engines. Number 3, you need to make sure that your brand name isn't confusing. You don't want to be saying that it does one thing and then your brand is something completely different. This is different from your brand evolving to do more than one thing, because once your brand is established, then you could expand on that and have like sub-brands. But you need to make sure that it's not confusing to start with. 4, you need to make sure that your name conveys your brand personality. So if you want your brand to be really corporate and like professional, then you don't want to go for a name like, I don't know, the Wobbly Jellyfish Co. Like, that's not professional, that's fun and quirky. You need to make sure that your brand name is in line with your desired brand image. 5, you want to jump onto any domain provider and check that your domain for the company name that you like is available, and you want to check that it's available as a .com and a dot of the country that you're in. The reason that I say to have the .com as well is just because it's more global and a more recognized URL ending. And then obviously if you're going for the dot of the jurisdiction that you're in, so for me it would be .co.uk, then that actually sometimes buyers prefer to buy from a local business, for example. So if you're marketing yourselves as a small business, a niche business from the UK, British brand, for me that would be, you want your domain name to reflect that and to be .co.uk. So if you're in, I don't know, Denmark, it might be like .de or something. I don't know, I don't shop on any of those local domains, but if you're in that country, make sure you get that domain extension ending. The next step after this is to register your company. This depends completely, it literally depends so much on what jurisdiction you're in, what type of company you've got. Are you going to be a sole trader? Are you going to be a limited partnership? What are you going to be? You need to decide that as well. and I'm happy to do a video on that if you want. I've registered my company in the jurisdiction that I operate in, so I do have some experience with that. That's pretty much everything that I would be considering, or I did consider when I chose my brand name. If you want to drop your brand name ideas down in the comments, then I'm sure everyone will be happy to provide you with some feedback. I certainly will give you my honest opinion on your brand name, so make sure to do that as well. If you have found this video useful, drop me a like, that would be super helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.